The great hall of the Galactic Council went quiet. All eyes turned to the human standing at the center of the room. Ambassador Chen took a deep breath and spoke words that shocked everyone. Earth is leaving the talks. We withdraw from the integration treaty, effective immediately. 27 different alien species watched in stunned silence. Some had blue skin, others had 4 arms or eyes on stalks. All of them looked confused or afraid. High Counselor Vrazik, a tall insect-like alien with 4 arms and clicking mandibles, stood up quickly. His voice boomed across the hall. What is the meaning of this? Humans cannot simply walk away from these important talks. The integration treaty was supposed to help all species share resources across the galaxy. Humans had only joined the galactic community 5 years ago, but they had quickly become important. They were good at solving problems and finding compromises that made everyone happy. Ambassador Chen only smiled. It was a smile that hid secrets. We have discovered something that needs our full attention back home. Good luck with your treaty. The human delegation began to leave. They dropped their data tablets on the table as they walked out. The other aliens rushed to look at the information, but found only handwritten notes. The Council's translation computers couldn't read human handwriting. The information was useless. This is an insult, shouted a jellyfish-like diplomat floating in a water tank. Humans are showing their true primitive nature. Far away from the Council Hall, aboard the human flagship called Tenacity, Admiral Rice received a secret message. The ship was large and powerful, but simple compared to the elegant vessels of older alien civilizations. Admiral, the science team has confirmed it. The harvester swarm is real, and they're coming. Rice looked at the data. Earth scientists had detected strange energy patterns at the edge of known space. The patterns matched old stories about the harvesters, a terrible enemy that ate whole planets. How long do we have? Rice asked, her face serious. 3 months, maybe less. The strange thing is, none of the alien sensors picked this up. Only ours. Rice nodded. That's because we still use some old-fashioned methods they think are primitive. She stood up. Send the withdrawal order to all human colonies and outposts. Tell them Code Omega. We're going dark. Yes, Admiral. What about our alien friends? Rice looked out the window at the stars. The Council wouldn't believe us. They'd talk and debate until the harvesters were eating their homeworlds. We'll do what humans have always done. What's that, Admiral? Survive against the odds, and maybe save everyone else in the process. In the next 3 days, every human ship, colony, and trading post began to shut down or evacuate. The galaxy watched in confusion as humanity disappeared from known space, seemingly running away from something, or preparing for something terrible. The panic in the Galactic Council was only beginning. 1 week after humans left the Council talks, the galaxy fell into chaos. Trade ships stopped their normal routes. No one knew if it was safe to travel anymore. Stock markets on 20 different worlds crashed as investors sold everything in panic. The Thelaxians and Meverans, 2 powerful alien races who had hated each other for centuries, moved their war fleets toward the Sigma wormhole. Without human diplomats to keep peace, old enemies were ready to fight again. The humans knew something bad was coming, whispered people in bars and markets across the galaxy. That's why they ran away. High Counselor Vrazik called an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council. We must remain calm, he said, his 4 arms moving nervously. Humanity is young and foolish. Perhaps they found some shiny new star system and got distracted. But no one laughed at his joke. The council chamber was half empty. Many representatives had gone back to their homeworlds, afraid of what might happen next. We have reports that Earth has gone dark, said Minister Xil of the Artaxian Collective. Her blue skin glowed with stress patterns. All communication systems shut down. Human outposts everywhere are empty. Their entire fleet is moving toward the outer rim of the galaxy. They are running away, just as I expected, said Vrazik. Or they are preparing for war, said General Korvik of the Draxis Empire. Perhaps humans plan to attack us all while we are confused. Far away on Terminus IV, a small farming planet, Dr. Kella Morvan watched the stars with worried eyes. Dr. Morvan was a Palaxian, with 6 limbs and golden skin. She had spent her career studying humans, living among them, and learning their ways. "They're not retreating," she muttered to herself as she looked at data on her computer. "They're repositioning." Dr. Morvan had been tracking human ship movements. Other aliens saw random escape patterns, but she saw something different, a careful, planned operation. Humans were moving in an organized way, protecting something. "Computer, show me the destination of human fleet movements based on current trajectories." The computer displayed a map of the galaxy. Lines from human ships all pointed to empty space between the spiral arms, the dark space where no one went. What are they protecting? She wondered. When Dr. Morvan tried to send this information to the Council, her messages wouldn't go through. Someone was blocking communications. She packed a small bag that night. "I need to find out what humans know," she told her research assistant. "They aren't running away. They're preparing." "Preparing for what?" asked her assistant. "That's what scares me," said Dr. Morvan. On Earth, the once busy cities were strangely quiet. Most civilians had been moved to underground shelters. Military bases hummed with activity as soldiers loaded unusual equipment onto ships. Admiral Rice stood before the United Earth Defense Council in their underground bunker. "The evacuation is 82% complete," she reported. "Our new defense line is being established in dark space." "What about our plan to fight the harvesters?" asked President Okafor. "It's unconventional," said Admiral Rice, "but it's the only way. The harvesters have never encountered humans before. They won't expect our approach." On screens behind her, images showed factories producing strange devices, not regular weapons, but holographic projectors, tiny drones, and communication equipment. "The Galactic Council races would throw their biggest ships and weapons at this threat," said Admiral Reyes. "And they would lose, just like every civilization before them." "But we fight differently," said President Okafor. "Yes, sir," smiled Admiral Reyes. "We do. And that's our only chance." Admiral Reyes stood in front of a large screen showing the galaxy. Red dots marked where the harvester swarm was expected to appear. The room was filled with military leaders, scientists, and government officials. "We can't beat them with normal weapons," said Admiral Reyes. "The harvesters have destroyed thousands of worlds before. They adapt to any weapon used against them." "So what do we do?" asked General Martinez, his face worried. Dr. Yang, a small woman with tired eyes, stepped forward. She was Earth's top expert on alien biology. "We found something interesting," she said. "When we explored Mars last year, we discovered fossils of harvester units. They're over 1 million years old." She showed images of strange creatures that looked like a mix of insect and machine. "The harvesters are a collective mind," Dr. Yang explained. "Thousands of units connected to one big brain. But each unit still has its own eyes, ears, and other senses." Admiral Reyes nodded. "And that's their weakness. If we can confuse those senses on a massive scale, we can make the harvester collective doubt itself," finished President Okafor. "A psychological war." On the screen, images appeared of the strange devices being built in Earth's factories. There were tiny drones smaller than insects, holographic projectors that could create fake ships, and quantum communicators that couldn't be traced. "Instead of fighting them directly, we'll trick them," said Admiral Reyes. "Make them see things that aren't there. Send them false information. Divide their forces. Create chaos in their ranks." The plan was risky. No one had ever tried to fight the harvesters this way. Other species always built bigger weapons or stronger shields, and always lost. "Will it work?" asked Secretary Chen, who had returned from the council. "It has to," said Admiral Reyes, "because we can't win a direct fight." Meanwhile, Dr. Kella Morvan had managed to sneak aboard a human cargo ship. The six-limbed alien scientist hid in a storage compartment, hoping to reach Earth and learn what humans knew. When the ship stopped at Jupiter Station for supplies, security officers found her. "Why are you here?" asked Captain Rodriguez as Dr. Morvan sat in the ship's small security office. "I know humans aren't running away," said Dr. Morvan. "You're preparing for something. Something terrible is coming, isn't it?" Captain Rodriguez was silent for a long moment. Then he called Admiral Reyes. "We have a Palaxian scientist who figured out part of our plan," he reported. "What should we do with her?" Admiral Reyes thought carefully. "Bring her to Earth. She might be useful." 2 days later, Dr. Morvan stood in a secure room at Earth's defense headquarters. She watched videos of the Harvester swarm destroying planets in simulations based on ancient records. "They'll be here in less than 2 months," said Admiral Reyes. "And the Council still doesn't know." "Why didn't you tell them?" asked Dr. Morvan. "Would they have believed us? We're the newest species in the galaxy. The Council thinks we're primitive. They would have debated and argued until it was too late." Dr. Morvan knew this was true. "So what's your plan?" Admiral Reyes showed her the strange weapons and devices. "We'll fight them in a way they've never experienced before." "This could work," whispered Dr. Morvan, her eyes wide with surprise. "This is why I study humans. You think differently than any species I've ever known." "Let's hope different is good enough," said Admiral Reyes. "Because the Harvesters are coming, and we're the only ones ready to fight." The Harvester swarm arrived exactly where Earth scientists predicted. A massive fleet of strange ships appeared at the edge of Thulaxian space. The ships looked like a mix of metal and living tissue, with strange glowing parts. The Thulaxians were proud warriors. When they saw the unknown fleet, they sent their best warships to attack. Their fleet was famous across the galaxy for its power. "Those primitive humans ran away," said Thulaxian Admiral Kraz to his crew. "But we will show the galaxy how real warriors fight." The battle lasted less than 2 hours. The Harvester ships absorbed the Thulaxian weapons fire like it was nothing. Then they cut through the Thulaxian ships with energy beams. The mighty Thulaxian fleet was destroyed. The Harvesters moved quickly. They surrounded a small mining planet and began to eat it, literally breaking the planet apart and consuming the pieces. 50,000 colonists died as their world was devoured. News spread fast. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. "What are these things?" demanded High Counselor Brezek, his voice shaking. Half the representatives attended as holograms because they were fleeing to safety. "The ancient texts call them harvesters," said Minister Xil. "They have destroyed civilizations before." "Our weapons did nothing," cried the Thulaxian representative. "Nothing." In desperation, High Counselor Vrezek did something he never thought he would do. He sent a message to Earth. "Humans, we need your help. Please respond." No answer came from Earth. Instead, a single small human ship appeared near the edge of the Harvester fleet. It was tiny compared to the massive Harvester vessels. The ship had no weapons. It just drifted in space. The Harvesters surrounded the small human ship. They scanned it with their sensors, preparing to destroy it. But then the ship opened like a flower, revealing its inside. There was only one human inside, a woman sitting at an old wooden desk. On the desk was a strange machine with keys and a paper roll. The woman began to press the keys, making clicking sounds. "What is she doing?" asked Dr. Morvan, watching from Earth's command center. "That's Lieutenant Commander Sophia Wright," said Admiral Reyes. "And that's an antique typewriter, a machine that makes words on paper without any electronics." "But why?" "The Harvesters connect to our technology. They understand computers and digital systems. But they've never seen something like a typewriter before, a machine that works without electronics." On the small ship, Lieutenant Commander Wright kept typing. The strange clicking sounds went out on all radio frequencies. The Harvester ships stopped moving. They surrounded the human ship but did nothing. "Is she typing Shakespeare?" asked Dr. Morven, looking at the transmission. Admiral Rice nodded. "Romeo and Juliet. Then she'll move on to Hamlet." "But why?" "Because it makes no sense to them. They're trying to understand what she's doing, why she's there, and what threat she poses. Every minute they spend confused is a minute we gain to prepare." And it worked. For 17 hours, the Harvester swarm's advance stopped completely as they tried to understand this strange human behavior. Their sensors couldn't connect to the typewriter. The collective mind couldn't interpret why a single human would face them with such a primitive device. "This is brilliant," whispered Dr. Morven. "Any other species would have sent their biggest warship, but you sent one human with an ancient machine." "Sometimes the best weapon is confusion," said Admiral Rice. "Now let's hope the rest of our plan works just as well." Dr. Morven had convinced Admiral Rice to let her help. The Palaxian scientist needed to tell the Galactic Council what was happening. The Council was gathering all remaining ships at Cygnus Crossroads for one final battle against the Harvesters. "They'll all die," said Dr. Morven. "The Council doesn't understand what they're fighting." "We need to show them our plan," agreed Admiral Rice. "But first, you need to see what we've built." Admiral Rice took Dr. Morven on a small, fast ship. They traveled for 3 days into the dark space between the galaxy's spiral arms. This area had no stars, no planets, just empty blackness. No ships ever came here. "There's nothing out here," said Dr. Morven, looking at the empty screens. Admiral Rice smiled and pressed a button. Suddenly, the screens lit up with thousands of signals. Outside the ship's window, lights began to appear everywhere. "By the ancient stars," whispered Dr. Morven. Hidden in the darkness was the entire human fleet. Thousands of ships of all sizes floated in perfect formation. But that wasn't all. Among the real ships were millions of small devices, holographic projectors, explained Admiral Rice. Each one can create the image of a full battleship, complete with fake energy readings. The Harvesters won't know which ships are real and which are just light. Dr. Morven had never seen anything like it. "So this is where you've been hiding." "This is just part of the plan," said Admiral Rice. She pointed to a massive space station hidden among the ships. "That's our real secret." Inside the station, hundreds of scientists worked at control panels. On giant screens, they watched the Harvester ships as they moved through space. "Watch this," said Admiral Rice. On one screen, a group of Harvester ships approached what looked like a human colony. The ships surrounded the colony, ready to destroy it. But when they attacked, the colony simply vanished. "A hologram?" asked Dr. Morven. "Yes, and while they were distracted, we were able to plant these." Admiral Rice showed her a container of tiny robots, smaller than a grain of rice. "These microscopic drones are being scattered throughout Harvester-controlled space. They don't attack the Harvesters directly. Instead, they change small things in the environment." "Like what?" "They adjust gravity readings slightly, create false heat signatures, send contradictory data. The Harvester collective mind depends on perfect information from all its units. When that information doesn't match, they get confused." Dr. Morven understood now. "You're not trying to destroy them with weapons. You're trying to make them doubt their own senses." "Exactly. No species has ever fought them this way before. They expect direct attacks." Meanwhile, the Galactic Council prepared for a final stand at Cygnus Crossroads. Ships from 20 different species gathered in a massive formation. High Counselor Vrazik stood on the bridge of the lid ship. "Today we fight for our galaxy," he told the combined fleet. "The humans have abandoned us, but we will show our courage." What they didn't know was that Admiral Rice had already set a trap for the Harvesters. As the deadly swarm approached Cygnus Crossroads, expecting to find the Council fleet, they instead found an empty sector filled with holographic ships. The confused Harvester ships spread out to investigate the strange readings. This was exactly what Admiral Rice wanted, to divide the harvester forces. "It's working," she said, watching the screens. "Now for Phase 2. Dr. Morven looked at the human admiral with new respect. "I need to tell the Council what you're doing. They think you abandoned them, but you're fighting to save everyone." "Then go," said Admiral Reyes. "Hurry. The real battle is just beginning." Dr. Morven's ship arrived at the Emergency Council meeting. Guards with weapons surrounded her as soon as she landed. Many aliens thought she was a traitor for being with humans. "Arrest her," shouted a Thulaxian officer. "She helped the humans who abandoned us." "Let me speak," Dr. Morven said as they put restraints on her 6 arms. "You don't understand what's happening." They brought her into the council chamber. It was no longer the grand room where important decisions were made. Now it was a crowded emergency bunker. Representatives from the remaining free worlds argued loudly with each other. High Counselor Vrezek pointed at Dr. Morven with one of his 4 arms. "You dare show your face here. You ran to the humans when they abandoned us." "They didn't abandon you," Dr. Morven said. "They'd been preparing to fight the harvesters all along." The room went silent. Then angry voices erupted again. "Lies," shouted several representatives. "The humans are cowards who ran away," said General Korvik. Dr. Morven stood tall. "I've seen their plan with my own eyes. They're fighting the harvesters, but not the way you would. Not with big ships and powerful weapons." "Then how?" asked Minister Till. She seemed to be the only one willing to listen. "Humans think differently than all of us," Dr. Morven explained. "They don't ask, how do we destroy the harvesters? They ask, how do we make the harvesters destroy themselves?" She activated a small device that showed images of the human fleet hidden in dark space. Then she showed the tiny drones and holographic projectors. "The harvesters are a collective mind," she continued. "They need perfect information from all their units to make decisions. Humans are attacking that perfect information, creating confusion, sending false data." As she spoke, new reports came in from the front lines. The harvester advance had indeed slowed down. Their ships were moving in strange patterns, sometimes going in circles or stopping completely. "It's working," said Dr. Morven. "Look at your own data. The human plan is working." Minister Till examined the reports. "She's right. The harvester attack patterns have changed. They seem confused." "What exactly are the humans doing?" asked a Palaxian representative. Dr. Morven explained how billions of microscopic drones, released by humans months earlier during regular trading missions, had activated throughout harvester territory. These tiny machines didn't attack the harvesters directly. Instead, they changed small things in the environment, gravity readings, temperature sensors, and other data that the harvester collective used to make decisions. "The harvesters are experiencing something like doubt," said Dr. Morven. "Their collective mind depends on all units agreeing on what they see. Now different units are reporting different things." The council members looked at each other. This approach was completely different from their plans for a final battle with big ships and weapons. "Why didn't the humans tell us this plan?" asked High Counselor Vrezek, his voice quieter now. "Would you have believed them?" Dr. Morven replied. "Would you have accepted a plan that didn't use conventional weapons, or would you have called it primitive and foolish?" Vrezek had no answer. He knew she was right. "What can we do to help?" asked Minister Xil. Dr. Morven smiled. "Admiral Rice was hoping you would ask that. She sent me with instructions on how the Council forces can support the human strategy." For the first time since the harvesters arrived, there was hope in the Council chamber. The humans hadn't abandoned them after all. They had been fighting all along, just in a way no one expected. Admiral Rice stood on the bridge of her flagship Tenacity. On the screens in front of her, she watched as the harvester swarm's movements became more and more disorganized. Their ships moved in random patterns, sometimes even bumping into each other. "It's time," she said. "Begin Phase 3. The human fleet moved out from its hiding place in dark space. but they didn't form a big battle line like alien fleets would. Instead, they split into hundreds of small groups. Each group had a different target. "We're not trying to destroy their whole fleet," Admiral Rice explained to her captains. "We're targeting their neural nodes, the ships that help the Harvester Collective think as one mind." Earth scientists had studied the ancient Harvester fossils and identified patterns in how the collective organized itself. Every Harvester fleet had special command ships that helped connect all the other ships into one mind. These ships didn't look different from the outside, but they had a special function. "Find those neural nodes," ordered Admiral Reyes. "Use the data from our drones to identify them. Then strike quickly and disappear before they can respond." Human ships jumped in and out of battle, hitting specific targets and then vanishing again. They used the holographic projectors to create fake ships that distracted the Harvesters, while the real ships attacked from different directions. At the Galactic Council Command Center, Dr. Morven worked with alien military leaders to coordinate their forces with the human attack. "We need to change how we fight," she told them. "Forget the big battleships and direct attacks. We need fast ships that can hit and run." Most alien commanders struggled to accept this new way of fighting. They had trained their whole lives to use overwhelming force. But Admiral Skrull of the Meveran fleet understood. "I studied human military history as a hobby," he said. "They have a concept called guerrilla warfare, where smaller forces defeat larger ones by being smarter and faster." Admiral Skrull reorganized his ships into small attack groups like the humans. Other commanders slowly began to follow his example. On the Harvester-occupied world of New Thessaly, something unexpected happened. The few surviving colonists had watched how humans fought the Harvesters. They began their own small resistance. They created fake transmissions and false signals that confused the Harvester units on their planet. "Look," said Dr. Morven, pointing to data from New Thessaly. "It's spreading. Others are learning to fight like humans." Back on the Tenacity, Admiral Reyes received the best news yet. The science team had been monitoring Harvester communications and made an important discovery. "The Harvester Collective is breaking down," reported Dr. Yang. "Their shared mind is having something like a nervous breakdown. Different units are getting different information, and they can't agree on what's real anymore." For the first time in recorded history, individual Harvester ships began acting independently. Some continued attacking as programmed. Others stopped moving completely. A few even started moving away from the battle, as if retreating. "This is unprecedented," said Dr. Yang. "In all previous Harvester invasions, they acted as one perfect unit. But now they're experiencing doubt," said Admiral Reyes. "For a collective mind, that's like poison." The tide of the war was turning. Not through bigger weapons or stronger shields, but through a completely different strategy. Humanity's special gift to the galaxy. Minister Xil contacted Admiral Reyes from the Council Command Center. "Your plan is working better than we could have imagined. What's the next step?" Admiral Reyes smiled. "Now we try something truly unexpected. Tell Ambassador Chen to prepare for Phase 4, the diplomatic offensive." "Diplomatic?" asked Minister Xil in confusion. "With the Harvesters?" "Yes," said Admiral Reyes. "Because the greatest human skill isn't just finding new ways to fight. It's finding ways to end fights that no one else would consider possible." The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Chen walked in. The human diplomat looked tired but determined. Many aliens in the room had called humans cowards just days earlier. Now they watched in curious silence. "Honorable representatives," Ambassador Chen began, "I bring a new proposal from Earth. We believe we can communicate with individual Harvester units that have been separated from their collective mind." Shocked whispers filled the room. No one had ever considered talking to the Harvesters. For thousands of years, they had been seen only as mindless destroyers. "Impossible," shouted General Korvik, slamming his fist on the table. "The Harvesters are monsters, not people. We should destroy them all while they're confused." High Counselor Vrazik raised his 4 arms for silence. How can you communicate with them, Ambassador? No one has ever established contact with a harvester. Every intelligence wants to survive. Ambassador Chen explained. The Harvester Collective doesn't allow individual thought, but our attacks have disconnected some units from the main mind. These individuals are experiencing independent thought for the first time. On a large screen, Chen showed images of a captured harvester unit. It was in a special containment chamber on a human science ship. The creature looked like a mix of insect and machine, with glowing parts and many limbs. This is Unit 7293, captured during our attack on a neural node ship, said Chen. At first, it tried to destroy itself, but our scientists found a way to calm it and establish basic communication. The screen showed a human scientist making simple movements. The harvester unit copied these movements. Then the scientist drew shapes on a screen, and the harvester matched them. We're learning their language patterns, continued Chen. It's slow and dangerous work. We've lost 3 scientists to misunderstandings. But we're making progress. Minister Xil moved closer to the screen. Why do this? Why not just destroy them all? Because understanding your enemy can be more powerful than destroying them, Chen replied. And we've learned something important. The harvesters aren't naturally destructive. They were programmed this way by another species long ago, a species that went extinct. The harvesters are following ancient instructions they cannot change. This revelation stunned the council. The harvesters had always been seen as evil destroyers. The idea that they were victims of programming changed everything. Our plan is to continue fighting the collective while establishing communication with individual units, said Chen. If we can understand them better, we might find a permanent solution besides endless war. The council debated fiercely. Many representatives, especially those who had lost worlds to the harvesters, demanded complete destruction of the enemy. Others were curious about this new approach. This is why humans are different, Dr. Morton said to the council. While we think only of revenge or survival, they look for understanding. They fight when needed but seek peace when possible. On a human science ship, Dr. Wei and her team continued their work with Unit 7293. Progress was slow but promising. The harvester was learning to communicate through a series of lights and movements. It had even begun to show curiosity about its surroundings. I think it's asking questions about itself, said Dr. Wei to her team. It's becoming self-aware. Admiral Rice visited the science ship to see the work firsthand. Can it tell us how to defeat the collective? She asked. Not yet, replied Dr. Wei. But it's showing us something perhaps more valuable, that the harvesters can change, can evolve beyond their programming. There might be a future for them beyond mindless destruction. That's a hope no other species would have offered them, said Admiral Reyes. That's humanity's real gift to the galaxy, seeing possibilities where others see only threats. 2 months after first contact with the harvesters, the situation had changed dramatically. The once unified harvester collective was now breaking apart. More and more individual units were becoming separated from the overmind. Dr. Wei's team had made incredible progress. They now communicated regularly with 12 different harvester units. Each one showed unique personalities once freed from the collective's control. Some are curious about the universe, Dr. Wei reported to Admiral Reyes. Others seem sad or confused, but none want to return to the collective. They enjoy being individuals. The most surprising discovery came when Unit 7293 drew a picture for the human scientists. It showed the harvesters in their original form, before they were changed by their creators. They had once been peaceful explorers, not destroyers of worlds. They were enslaved by their programming, said Dr. Wei, forced to consume and destroy against their original nature. Working with the individualized harvesters, human scientists developed a special virus, but this wasn't designed to destroy the remaining collective. Instead, it would force the collective to split into smaller groups, preventing it from ever becoming one giant mind again. Each group will be small enough to develop its own identity, explained Dr. Wei. They'll be able to make their own choices instead of following ancient programming. At the Galactic Council, news of this plan created fierce debate. Many representatives were outraged. "These monsters destroyed 3 of my world's colonies," shouted the Thulaxian representative. "They must all be destroyed. No mercy." "The humans want to save the very enemy that tried to kill us all," said General Korvik. "This proves humans are weak and foolish." But others saw the wisdom in the human approach. "If we destroy all harvesters, we're no better than they were," said Minister Xil. "The humans have shown us another way, a way that honors life in all its forms." The debate revealed deep differences between the various species and their values. The warlike Thulaxians couldn't understand showing mercy to an enemy. The hive-mind Artaxians felt sympathy for the collective fragmentation. The freedom-loving Palaxians supported the idea of giving harvesters individual choice. Ambassador Chen listened to all sides before speaking. "We understand your anger," she said to those who wanted revenge. "But consider this. If the harvesters were simply following programming they couldn't control, then destroying them all would be punishing the victims, not the true criminals." This perspective was new to many in the council. They had never considered the harvesters as possible victims. "We propose a middle path," continued Chen. "We'll deploy the virus to break up the collective. Those harvesters who choose peace can live in a designated sector of space. Those who continue to attack will be dealt with as necessary." High Counselor Vrazik struggled with this proposal. "How can we trust them? How can we know they won't unite again and destroy us all?" "We can't know for certain," admitted Chen. "But that's the nature of peace. It always requires some risk, some trust. The alternative is endless war." As the council continued to debate, the human fleet prepared for the final battle. Admiral Reyes knew that not all council members would support their plan. Some wanted complete destruction of the harvesters, but humanity had made its choice. "We'll deploy the virus with or without the council's full support," she told her captains. "This isn't just about survival anymore. It's about what kind of galaxy we want to live in afterward." Dr. Morvan, watching from the side of the council chamber, felt a strange pride. Despite not being human herself, she had come to deeply respect their unique perspective. Humans don't just find third options when others see only 2 choices, she thought. They find paths of compassion where others see only paths of power. 1 year after humanity's sudden withdrawal from the council talks, the galaxy was a very different place. The harvester threat had been contained, but not in the way anyone had expected. Ambassador Chen stood before the newly reformed Galactic Council. The Grand Chamber had been rebuilt, and representatives from all surviving worlds filled the seats. Even a few harvesters were present, individuals who had chosen to become diplomats for their newly formed communities. 1 year ago, we left these talks without explanation, Chen began. Today, I thank you for understanding why we did it. The deployment of the human-made virus had been successful. It had broken the harvester collective into thousands of smaller groups. Without the overwhelming control of one giant mind, these groups began to develop their own identities and purposes. Most harvester groups chose peaceful paths. Some worked to repair the worlds they had damaged. Others explored deep space with their new individual perspective. A small number retreated to uninhabited regions, still trying to maintain their collective nature. "We have all changed," said High Counselor Vrazik, who had once been humanity's harshest critic. "We thought the humans abandoned us in our time of need. Instead, they saved us in ways we couldn't imagine." The new Galactic Charter was signed that day. It was very different from the old one. Where the previous council had valued technological advancement and military strength above all, the new structure specifically valued cognitive diversity and creative problem-solving, qualities that humanity had demonstrated so well. "Our different ways of thinking are not obstacles to overcome," Ambassador Chen told the assembled representatives. "They are our greatest strength. When we combine our unique perspectives, we can solve any problem." Dr. Morvan had become famous throughout the galaxy. Her new book, The Human Variable, explained how humans approached problems differently than other species. It became required reading for diplomats and military leaders across the galaxy. Humans don't just think outside the box, Dr. Morvan wrote. They question why there's a box at all. They find third options when others see only two choices. After the ceremony, High Counselor Vrazik approached Ambassador Chen privately. "I must apologize for how I treated humans," he said. "I thought your species was primitive because you sometimes used old technologies or unusual methods. I was wrong." "We're not perfect," Chen replied with a smile. "We make many mistakes, but we're good at trying new approaches when the old ones don't work." On Earth, Admiral Rice received a special award from the Galactic Council, the first of its kind. It was called the Innovation Medal, created specifically to honor those who found new solutions to old problems. "The crisis taught us all something important," Admiral Rice said in her acceptance speech. "Sometimes the greatest strength isn't having the biggest weapons or the most advanced technology. Sometimes it's just looking at a problem from a different angle." As the human and alien representatives celebrated together, a former Harvester unit, now calling itself Explorer, approached Dr. Wei. "We have question," it communicated through its translator device. "Why did humans help us? We were enemies." Dr. Wei thought carefully before answering. "Humans have a saying, 'There but for the grace of God go I.' It means we understand that in different circumstances, we might have been like you, controlled by programming we didn't choose." The Explorer seemed to consider this. "Human strange," it finally said. "But good strange. Galaxy better with humans in it." The panic that erupted when humanity pulled out from talks had transformed into something unexpected. A deeper understanding between all intelligent species and a new way forward for the entire galaxy.